All right, can people hear me at the back? Awesome. Hi guys, I'm Matt. I'm from Proof of Play. Work on a game called Pirate Nation. There's a couple of us here today. Like some of us, I see some people in the crowd, former game developer, now game and blockchain developer. So there's a few things here I'll put in the slide about unlearning. Um, but yeah, it's been a bit of an adventure. So Pirate Nation has been live for 18 months now. We launched on a very precarious day when ZTX crashed. So we had the most optimal of launches. The game style is kind of like social casual. Farmville, Animal Crossing, Clash of Clans, big inspirations for us. But we also have a card battling mode, which has PvP now. That's very much inspired by Slay the Spire. So if you like the card combat of Slay the Spire, you'll see that. One thing different that we're doing is being live for 18 months, we ship updates every week, which is very challenging on chain and leads to some interesting constraints. But overall, it's been really fun because we've been able to build with community and change things out. Recently, we launched a free-to-play mode. Originally, we gave out some pirates. You can go and buy them on various markets. And they got to a point where it was unsustainable for players to actually buy them. They're very expensive. And so now we have the ability for you to mint a pirate for free. And more recently, I'll show a little bit about it. We started a season 1 and started scaling out the game to get some more players. Currently, we have around 5,000 daily active users who are playing the game. Questionable how many of those are actually users or bots, but there are 5,000 interactive wallets, and we're looking to kind of scale that. More recently, we moved chains. We moved from Arbitrum Nova, which was unfeasible for us to scale any more players on, to now using an Orbit chain. So we're using Arbitrum Orbit, and we're running our own chain on that. So bit about the game. Here's kind of like a useful graph of what you actually do in Pirate Nation. So, to give it the really quick TLDR, you get energy. Energy allows you to go on quests. Quests give you experience. Experience allows you to build stuff. Once you can build stuff, you can make probably the coolest unit in the game, which is a ship. And a ship allows you to go and fight things. And so once you can fight things, you can do PvP. And eventually you get this thing called command rank, which eventually allows you to trade. So a bit of interesting history and passion on how we got to that. But essentially the game logic on the right, the card battler, is probably the least spottable part of the game, which is why we coupled that to trade. Here's a little bit about what the island looks. One thing that's really interesting here is we have a voxel-based, kind of art style. I'll give a link at the end of this where you can download pretty much all of these assets and you can use them for modding our game or other games if you feel like. But the intention for this is basically that we wanted a low barrier way to go in and mod the game. So not only are we looking for people to mod the game on the kind of like code style, we also want to enable creators to come in and these blocks are really nice, easy building blocks to allow anyone to kind of get in and design and change them. And you'll see that when you can download some of these assets. So here's a little bit about the kind of card combat system. Up the top right, we've got one of our kind of very terrible AI mobs. That is a sea monster or a kelpling, but my son calls it a sea monster when he sees it. And as you can see, very, very much inspired by Slay the Spire and kind of quick card combat. And so here's a little bit of a display of how it looks in the game, or a montage. So yeah. So some important events for us is originally we launched on Polygon. We ended up having to do, as most of these people, most of you guys who have been building games before, have to build a lot of our own stuff. So the first milestone we initially found out is we had to build our own VRF. So we built that, moved to Arb Nova. We then had to build our own relayer. We then had to, launch free-to-play, as you guys saw. We hit a lot of scale. At one point, we were 80% of Nova's traffic. We are no longer that. We're not even on Nova anymore. We did this cool PvP thing, which I spoke about last year in France. You're more than welcome to take a look at some of the slides online for that. Most recently, we launched our multi-chain, which is the way that we describe scaling the game up to users to be able to use multiple chains and shard them. And finally, we're here at Lisbon, hopefully learning about how to make composable games and all of the cool things that everyone's building. So the biggest thing I think that I've learned personally from this is really about unlearning what it means to do game development. For me, previously I worked at Riot Games on games like League of Legends and on Valorant. A lot of our team also worked on really big titles. The thing that we've learned the most is you don't actually have to make it complete for players to have fun. When you think about shipping a big title, you think about having all the loose ends kind of ticked off, matchmaking perfect, everything like that. And for us, that's actually been not the case. In fact, a lot of the features that we'll talk about here today is we've pretty much cut the scope off and let other people kind of see if they can build it. And we've seen a really good, attempts of people coming in and finishing off these things for us. The biggest thing I want to say here is we're all figuring how to build on-chain games, and especially for us, we don't know the answer yet. And so we're looking to everyone here of how people put composability into their games and some cool ideas that we see in different things, and hope that we can all collaborate on, hopefully, like an open way that people compose multiple games. So here's a quick example of kind of one thing that was modded on top of our game. This is by us, but it doesn't have to be by everyone. Because everything in our chain is everything in our game is on chain, we made a simple scoring system. This is a way for engagement to people collect booty points. And this is a live leaderboard. If you go and do a gauntlet, you'll be able to get points immediately. We also have the guys at GG Quest, which I think I have Days here to come up and talk about how they modded some stuff on Pirate Nation.
Thank you. So firstly, we have been big Pirate Nation fans from the start. I think collectively we own like 150 Genesis Pirates amongst the team, and like 6-7 shipwrights if anyone wants to do some live testing, we're here. This was when the game was still on Arbitrum Nova. They had no documentation. We were trying to get help, but they were kind of like elusive with the whole thing. So we were like, okay, screw it. We played the whole game, farmed all the on-chain transactions, set up a GraphQL node, subgraphs, and then basically started indexing all the in-game actions ourselves. And one thing that was missing in the game was proper onboarding for all the different game loops. So we divided the whole thing into 7 chapters that went through all the basics of setting up your account and setting your captain as a pirate and whatnot, combat, island decoration. Basically everything was on chain, so we didn't need to even talk to them about anything. We just launched it and we're like, hey guys, we launched this whole campaign. So the reception was really good. We had around, I think, 150 players go through the whole thing. 75% went through every single chapter, which takes 7.5 hours to complete. And because they were replayable, people had started basically grinding all the challenges. So it's really cool that you can build this whole meta progression system on top of existing on-chain games without having to build anything of your own. So yeah, it's one of the examples. We are building a sort of a data adapter for MUD, so it can work with our meta progression system. So hopefully we're going to be done in a day or so with the demo. So if anyone is interested, you can come chat. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for kind of detailing that. I think one thing that's really interesting here that it kind of is more of an experiment is, Dave's mentioned that we weren't super helpful in providing documentation or anything like that. And I think that's important as an experiment because, we're used to building these products where we have this amazing developer documentation, an amazing experience for people. But you don't have to do that to make a game that people can build on. And this is one example of doing that. Now, obviously, we're going to provide some docs in this presentation, but it's not necessarily a requirement so long as we all use the same kind of interfaces. And in this case, the interface of the blockchain helps us all have something that we know and can be compatible with. So I think that's super important. I think we're missing a slide somewhere. So I have a couple of other examples that were supposed to be in a slide here, but I'll put them later, from the community. So we've actually had quite a few plugins built by our community that came in and added missing things onto the game. From anything like automation tools, like we see with bots that the community is freely shared, to adding a leaderboard system to a system that we didn't have before, to even a new game. So we have a new game called Gauntlet Racing that you can check out, where someone made a game where we have gauntlets that you run every day, and they've made kind of like this gambling system, who can complete them the quickest in each day, and there's a big pot in the middle, and so that's a really good example as well, and these will all be in the docs a bit later. But I would say that one thing that's important here is that it's really important to listen to community as you're building these things. As you know, building in the open, building in public, seeing the reactions of people immediately, especially with the power of Discord, helps us tremendously and comes out with ideas that we wouldn't necessarily have, or builds upon our existing ideas. And so that leads to this development style that's very different to what we're used to in kind of AAA games, where you release a fully packed feature. We actually love the idea of experimenting and throwing out this like kind of teaser feature and see if people adopt with it and see if they'll tease and make it better. And so I think the idea of leading breadcrumbs, which I see in a lot of games here, for people to keep on the thread is really interesting, especially in fully on-chain games. So you can come and play the game right now. You can use this code Lisbon, and you can go to piratenation.game to give it a go. And then a couple of ideas for things, and obviously you're not limited by these, but we've got some cool ideas here. I think every game needs some kind of AMM or item trader. Maybe we need one that goes across all of the games that can trade things in Pirate Nation to, say, Promodium. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunities here. I think there's 2 slides worth of ideas here to kind of get your kind of senses going. These are also all in the docs. Also, we've put all our assets up for you guys to play around with. This is things like our 3D models, our ships, our artwork, our videos, anything you would like to use. You're welcome to use them, and I'll leave this slide up for a bit, but you can go and play the game. You can go and read the docs, and actually I might, while I'm here, show you guys a little bit of the game. Let me see if I can show it up. So this is me on a touchpad, so don't hate me. But yeah, this is the world. You can kind of sail around. You can do different adventures. And the big concept of the game is what you do in the kind of island universe affects kind of your deck and cards, so that you can go and play with other people. That in the bottom right, that's actually a transaction that happened. So as you can see here, everything is on chain. So let me come back to this and throw this back up. So Joe, perfect, thank you. So yeah, we've got some dev docs up now at Bitly and Pirate Devs. So go and take a look and mess around, and I look forward to seeing what anyone comes up with.